We're back with you on Sunday night rumbling. We can thank that name to Eastern Hot Rodder Magazine there. He's the guy that come up with rumbling. How did you come up with rumble anyway? What was the deal with that? You did that in the magazine.
We're just kind of rumbling around. So my letters to the editor, instead of just calling it letters to the editor, I just started calling it Readers Rumblings. And it just kind of worked. We got a rumbling and our Hot Rods rumble. And we figured there was a couple good car shows I went to that were, old school hot rod shows, and they were called the one of them was the Redneck Rumble, another one was the Rockabilly Rumble, and just kind of flowed, So there it was.
Well, it worked out good, I guarantee you. For those that don't know, I'm Steve Phillips. I'm with Phillips Run Drip and Bubble Company. We got our YouTube channel, and we do, I guess, my main thing we've been doing is dragging my dad's cars out of the woods. He's got more cars than Carter's got liver pills. I'm not kidding you. And I just keep just one right after another. It's amazing. He's got 257 Plymouth Furies. He got a 56 Plymouth Fury. He got a Chrysler 300, 37 Ford we just got out of the garage. And man, the list just goes on and on. Right now, Evan, my baby boy, he went down and got the 51 Dodge 5-window pickup truck. My daughter's going to build a house, and it was sitting there. So he got it cut out and drug out. But Daddy's bought cars all over the years, and he's like me. He don't sell anything. He's got everything he ever owned, and I guess I'm just like him. I've sold a few cars, but they're all foreign cars and Tauruses, but all the good stuff that I like, I hang on to. So we've been kind of digging on that. But for all the new people out there, we got Eastern Hot Rodder here. He's got his YouTube channel. Tell them about you a little bit.
My name's John Worden. I run Eastern Hot Rodder. I was a print magazine for years, right up until COVID kind of put a hurting on us, and print costs got too expensive. So we decided to give it a shot at doing videos. So we kind of try to cover car shows and whatever we're working on in the garage, and anything we find interesting and neat that we think any other hot rodder would like to see.
And then we got Seanfattireguy Thomas down here at the bottom on the right-hand side, sitting there with his proud Mopar hat on and his big Roadrunner in the back. Tell us what's going on with you, brother.
Oh, not much. Just trying to get my garage finished up out here. Hopefully, I still like getting doors for it, but it's mainly almost done, thank goodness.
Well, you had a little trouble out of that. They brought you the building but didn't bring you the roof?
Yeah, they didn't bring the right roof. They brought what they call a horizontal, and I was adamant there was no way that I was going to have that, because it was 2 times on the receipt that I was getting vertical roof. Them horizontals, that's got a ridge that runs horizontal down the length of the building, right, instead of vertical, and so it'll trap leaves and snow can't get off of it, and people will talk about, oh, well, you don't have to worry about snow load here, but I've seen a couple of 12-inch snows here, so I'm not going to take no chance of a building falling in on my cars just because, something like that.
We had the blizzard in '93. Remember that? That's what everybody remembers. The blizzard. We had like 2 foot of snow in North Georgia. Man, it shut us down. Was you here then when they had the blizzard, John?
No, man, I missed that one by a little bit. I came down about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, that was an eye opener. And then we haven't had a big snow since then. It's been kind of just dustings, I guess. We've had a couple
up in upstate New York, most of the time we have some pretty good heavy snowfalls, and we get, every once in a while we get a 2-footer. That was always a big deal. And I remember one time we had 27 inches came down, and I didn't get a chance to plow because we were running our open house at our store. So my wife got a Jeep Liberty that year, and we came home, and I said, hang on. And we went in, they plowed the road. So I had to blast through the snowbank to drive down. And I just drove where I thought the driveway was. And I figured I'd just follow the light to the garage. And I got about 10 feet from the garage, and a little Jeep wouldn't go any further. And I opened the door, and I had to push snow with the door to get out. And it had a snowbank that covered the headlights. And I snow plowed the driveway with the Jeep all the way to the garage door. And I got out behind it, and you could see the shape of the differential in the snow and everything where but that was a pretty rare occurrence getting something that big, but we did get them, but usually it was under a foot. Most of our snowfalls were usually under a foot.
Yeah. Those that don't know, of course, I put a video up the other day that we did Saturday they had the salute to our veterans. I do a radio show and I always help the veterans all I can. Went over and emceed that, but had an air show and a car show and got over there. And John was over there and he'd come in with man, he's got a Willis. I did not know you had a Willis. I didn't realize I had friends that had that kind of money. You know, I thought everybody's broke like me and Sean.
It's I've wanted a Willie since I was 12 years old. You know, as I remember the very first one I saw, I was at a show, small little town show in my hometown of West Sand Lake, New York, and beautiful cloudless day. And I heard this rumble and this whine, and I looked up and I saw this car come in and mile deep candy apple red paint job. It looked like you could swim through it, and the chrome was glistening in the sun, and the car pulled around and it stopped and shut it down. And everybody in the show started going around the car, and the guy tilted the hood on it, and there was I didn't even know what I was looking at the time. I didn't even know what a supercharger was. And my dad looked at it. He goes, "Look at that, kiddo! 16 spark plugs, twin magnetos. That's a dragster engine." It was a 426 Hemi with a blower and injection and twin magnetos. I had to have one, and I chased them for years, man. And they were always just out of my reach. And when I moved down here, I had a 55 Chevy Gasser at the time, and I said, you know what? I like that car. I'm going to stick with that and just kind of give up on the Willys. And I was running a load of magazine stuff, upstate New York, and my dad called up. He says, "Hey, I think I found you a Willys that might be in your price range." And I actually bought it from the McCoy family out in Hiawassee. It was Cotton McCoy who built it, and he passed away. I bought it, brought it home. It was a Pro Street car when I got it, and I blew the whole thing apart, changed the engine, transmission, front and rear suspension, and redid the interior. The only thing I didn't change was the paint, the windshield, and the grill, and made it the Gasser Willys I always wanted. And it's and in a small world that we live in, it was when it was about a month or two after I got the car, I was down at the pool in Murphy, North Carolina, and I ran into a fellow that I could tell was from farther upstate New York than I was. I could tell he had that apple knocker accent. And I got talking with him, and when I told him I had a Willys, he started describing the Willys his dad built, and his father was the one that built the Willys that made me want a Willys, and he's living down here in Murphy now. And it's
Really cool.
Father passed away, but just a real small world. Then my buddy Danny Hall out of Blairsville, Georgia, he gave me a stack of old magazines to go through, and then I found an article in Hot Rod about that Willys, that first Willys I ever saw, and the best part is I like mine better.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't matter to me. I don't even care. But I mean, that whole car you can buy. Is yours a fiberglass car? Or is it all metal?
It is. Yeah, I couldn't afford a steel car. It's a glass body car. Dennis Taylor body, custom made square tube chassis. We put a solid straight axle under the front with coilovers, mounted it with hairpins. Out back, we have a Fab 9 housing. And we were the first in the world to put Calvert racing suspension under a 41 Willys. And I asked the guys, I said, "Is this going to work good?" He goes, "I don't know. We never put one in a Willys before." Yeah, it works good. It'll pull a wheelie when I shift. It's a 400 trans. And when I shift from first, it's a manual valve body. When I shift to first to second, it'll do a wheelie if I'm in it good on the street.
There we go. That could be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, do you race it much?
I haven't yet. I only have maybe 200 or 300 miles on it. I'm still breaking everything in. The drivetrain's pretty well broken in, but it's a much different animal. It weighs the same as my 55 did. Both cars were about 3,000 pounds, but it's a foot shorter wheelbase and a little higher center of gravity. So a little less predictable than the 55 was when you stab it. So there's a few other little things I want to do to beef things up a little bit more before I take it down the track.
That's funny. You talk about breaking it in. Randall Twiggs is an old race car from back in the day, moonshine and all that. And I was over at his shop one time. He built this boy. It was, I don't know, probably 77, 78 Pontiac Firebird. He rebuilt the engine for it, and the boy was there to pick up his car. Back then that's pretty hot cars,
Yeah.
And not compared to the day, but anyway, that guy got there and they figuring up everything. He said, "Now tell me, what is the break-in period on this? I mean, what I need to do to break this thing in?" And he said, "Just drive it as fast as your hind end can stand it, son." He said, "That motor will stay together." So that's the way I like the break-in period, man. I don't know that. Run 200 miles and don't get over 2,000 RPMs and then change it. He said, "You run that thing as fast as your hind end can stand it. It'll stay together." So, and it did. I'll guarantee you. Yeah, it did. But well, I don't know if you ever knew Randall Twiggs or them Twig boys. Now they were.
I knew the one that had the Chevelle. He's passed on now too, and I can't remember his first name.
Yeah.
But
Ricky.
Yeah,
he did a lot of drag racing.
Yeah, man, he was. He had a pretty killer '66 Chevelle before he passed. I think it was a big 540 in it.
Right.
A good hot rod, you know.
Well, now I might be telling this wrong, and if people's listening out there that know me, that know him, but I heard this story, and I think it was about him. But he had a shop in Murphy, and it was cold and rainy and wet and snowing out, and he was trying to set his air pressure up on his tires, and he was just kind of guessing with it, and he'd change the air pressure and he'd burn out, and he'd change the air pressure and burn out, and I reckon he got everything just right, because when he did the burnout, it hooked up and he went straight through the garage door out into the parking lot. Now, I'm not sure that's him, but I think it was. But they said he kept doing the burnout, trying to figure out his air pressure, and that thing hooked, and it just shot him through the.
Well, from the other stories I heard from him and the people that know him, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
He was telling me the first Chevelle he bought, first '66 Chevelle he got, he was trying to prove to his uncle, I think it was, that he could drive. So he was pulling hole shots in front of his house and terrorizing a little bit, and he lost it and he crashed into a ditch. It was before he made the first payment on the car. So he drug the car home and tore it all apart and turned it into a dirt track car and paid for the car and made money by, paid it off. He didn't tell anybody he crashed it. He just, didn't tell his insurance or anything, and didn't tell the loan office that he did. So he just turned it into a race car and earned enough money to pay for the car. So,
I had a buddy of mine down in Liber, and he bought a little old drag car, little Chevy 2 Novas, man. I thought them was the prettiest cars ever put out, them little Chevy 2s, but it was a little drag car. And he had a concrete driveway and never had fooled with cars whatsoever in his life. And so they brought it down there and dropped it off to him, and he got in that car and lowered the boom on it. And one side hooked and the other side didn't. And the car went sideways, went through the hedges and straight into the swimming pool and sunk. That was the life of his car, man. I'll never forget that. But and I didn't feel sorry for him either. I thought, that deserves you, man. If you don't know no more about it than that, karma's terrible.
You're not kidding.
Yeah. Anyway, we went to that show yesterday, man. We had an air show. It was pretty cool over at Western Carolina Regional Airport. They brought in the Corsair. They had the P40, which was cool. And the guy that had the P40 actually done some, he does stunts on that thing. He uses that as a stunt plane. They do stunts in that P40. That's unreal.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, man. Just hearing that car, that plane fire up and hearing them, twist those up just to get the altitude. It kind of reminded me of being in a drag strip a little bit. You get a deep bass tone, and it just feel that power and hear that power. It was just really cool to be near it.
Well, now I didn't get to go down. I brought the Corvette Lister, and I did a video on the Corvette Lister. Yeah, it's on Phillips Run Drip and Bubble Company, but the car was actually, the original car was built back in 1957 or 58. And then I know I'm gonna mess him up. Chuck Beck, I think it is Beck. He's actually from South Georgia down there, and he builds these cars. He's a well-known builder when it comes to, he built the Chuck Spider and all that kind of stuff, or Beck Spider. Y'all can Google that. Okay. But anyway, Bill was a friend of mine, and Bill was a pilot. And anyway, Bill got sick, and when he got down, he'd call me up, and he'd lost his mind, obviously, because he'd call me up and say, "Hey, you need to come drive this thing, and it's got the Corvette ZZ3, I guess it is, which was a big deal with a 4-speed in it. And he put the fuel injection and all in it, but it's like a long Cobra. It's like a Cobra, the Ford Cobra, the Shelby Cobra, but it's longer. I mean, you've seen it over. It's a wicked looking car.
Actually, there was about what do you think, about 12 or 13 different Cobras there that were parked pretty close to it. So it's kind of neat to see that close to those Cobras, so you can kind of compare them,
Yeah.
See, it reminded me, it was kind of like a stiletto compared to the Cobras. It was just really long and narrow.
Yeah. It ain't but 38 inches tall. That's how high it is. When you get down in, that's my problem. See, I got a little weight on me, and once I get in it, it's hard for me to get back out of it. And then it's got the side pops, and I burn my leg every time I get out. But it's a cool car. But anyway, I wish Bill could have been there. But like I said, he did pass away, and he was a super, super, super nice guy. But he lets me take the Lister over there. But I didn't get to hang out at the car show. What all did they have? Some pretty. I know you had your car, and your daughter's got a Corvette. I know she brought her stuff in.
Yeah, she brought her car in, and I'd say there's probably about 150 cars or so. I teach at the Oaks Academy, so I had my students repurpose some old trophies. We restored some trophies so one of those trophies was dated 1958, and the other ones were missing their plaques, so I don't know how old a lot of those were, but they ranged right up to the early 90s. So the kids took them apart and switched tops and turned them in, changed them from sports trophies into hot rod and car trophies, and made about a dozen trophies to hand out. And those kids had a ball going around picking the cars and presenting the awards to the car owner. So it was really a good thing for the kids. It was a good thing for the people there at the show too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I missed that, and I know they had all the Harleys come in there and all that. But that was a good day. That was definitely a good day. But anyway, if y'all see Sean sitting there, if y'all seen his video, he's got his roof on his shop. Finally, look at that. It don't leak.
Yeah, I can sit out here in the rain.
There you go.
So how many cars will fit in that?
If it's these big B bodies like that, you ain't gonna get the two of them in it. But I think I can get that van and that Duster on one side.
Cool.
I'm gonna say I can get 3 in it, but now
Right.
2 of them will be nose to bumper to bumper, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just it's only 35 foot long. I would have liked to have got bigger, but my billfold's smaller than what my stomach is.
Yeah, I know how that. My eyes are bigger than my stomach. That's what my papa said. I'm fat. Yeah, that's why I'm fat. But now you still got. Let's see. Now you had that. Did you ever do any videos on that crazy van?
I done a couple, but I never did. I sold it. There's a couple on my YouTube channel of it, and then whenever I put that motor in Vanther, the pink van, I got of course, some of them videos is done pretty good, but I showed people how to do the engines in the van, where it's just got a K member that comes out just like one of these cars do it. And if you jack it up and put it up on blocks, if you don't have a lift, the motor just comes out from the bottom.
Right.
But of course, with me, I'm going to do stuff on the lift. That Uncle Tony's garage is always bragging about not having a lift and doing stuff in the gravel. If I'm going to have to work in the gravel, I'll just go on to work at Hardee's or something. I'll make business for a living.
I've worked in the gravel many times trying to put transmissions in.
Yeah, but once you're in your 50s, you know better than that.
All right, John, can you see we got your buddy in here with us? Who we got, John?
Hey, Bill, this is Bill Ackerman. He's from Flat Broke Garage.
Hey, guys.
He likes stuff too.
Sitting in my kid's backyard doing a little grilling.
Oh, look at that. We can smell the burgers, man. You cooking burgers or steak or?
Yeah. So, no, I totally heard the gravel thing. I'm old and fat, and I didn't care what concrete cost. I did concrete.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about being fat.
Huh?
Less wrinkles when you're fat. You know what I'm saying? When you're skinny, you get all.
But the problem is it keeps stretching the wrinkles out and it keeps making more fat. It's just a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's like built-in Botox.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, we got now this is Bill with Flat Broke. I'll get it out here in a minute. Sometimes my brain outruns my mouth. But Bill with Flat Broke Garage, man. And now you're over in Tennessee, right? I mean, of course, you're at your daughter's house now, but you're in Tennessee normally, right?
Right. Scenic Turtletown, Tennessee.
Oh, it's Turtletown. I thought it was Ducktown.
No, well, that's the metropolis, the Ducktown. That's where the actual town is. Turtletown is, well, it's a name. So,
okay.
So I live in Hiwassee, okay? And that's an old Indian name. We run the Indians out and kept their names.
Well, so did we. See, that's why we're Chief Turtle, Chief Duck, and then there's a Chief Dog. So there's the 3 towns. Yeah, that's the history of the name of those 3 towns, Cherokee Indian chiefs.
Yeah.
Chief Duck and Chief. Was that short up, or you tell me the truth now? Chief Duck and Chief Turtle.
I can even tell you where their grave is.
No
see?
Kidding.
Yeah. See, all this useless knowledge I've gleaned since I moved down here.
I did not know that, and I've lived here my whole life, man. I'm a factory-born hillbilly, man. I'm not kidding you, son. I'm grown up here in the sticks and did not know that. I always go over there. I look for turtles and I look for ducks, and I don't see neither one when I'm either one of the town. Like, why they name it Turtle Town?
There you go. And then, like I said, there's Dogtown. Don't miss Dogtown. There's plenty of them.
There's a lot of dogs out there. You see dogs everywhere.
Yeah, they're feral, man. They're everywhere there.
The time I was in Ducktown, I was getting barked at by dogs.
You were. You actually were getting barked at. Yeah.
Well, now here's something about dogs. You say feral dogs. That's a Yankee term or something. Because down here we call them strays, stray dogs.
We just call them dogs.
It was funny. We call them feral cats and stray dogs.
feral cats. And
when we bought our place, there's a 3-legged lab living there. And I asked my neighbor about him and what happened to him. He said, well, that dog just lives here. I go, well, why is it only got 3 legs? He said, well, you don't want to eat it all at once.
Not a good dog, no.
You got to save some bark for later.
There you go. I'll guarantee it. Well, anyways, well, tell us about your channel, man. I mean, I see you go and drag some stuff out of a junkyard, and
yeah. I basically started the channel because my dad is in a nursing home, and he can't get out much, and he was always an active guy, and I started restoring my Torino. And my kids prompted me. They said, you should make a YouTube channel. You're kind of a social guy. And I do have a dry sense of humor. So they said it would fit. So I started making videos on the Torino. And then, I ran out of money for the Torino, hence the flat broke.
Yeah, I got that part.
And I had other projects. I have a 64 Cyclone. That's kind of a daddy-daughter project that I have now inherited along with her horse.
Mm-hmm.
But...
man, them horses are expensive, period, man.
It's the car payment that never goes away.
Oh, Lord, man. They just eat all the time. They eat the bark off the trees.
But, and then you trip over stuff and just started making videos. Now, I'm not high-techy. I still ain't been paid by YouTube. I've been paid once, but the money, it's there, but, whatever. I don't care. I just have fun doing it. It's not a lot of money. It's the fun of doing it,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I got a buddy of mine that he's got a TikTok account. And he got like 50 million views on TikTok, and he got his check, and it was like $22.
Yeah, and then everybody in the world knows where you live. Then
you can't even buy cigarettes for $22 anymore. I mean,
yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's just something to stay busy. And then I went looking for parts for my Torino in this junkyard, and I found this stupid Falcarino, which is a Falcon-based Torino. And instead of cutting it up for parts, it was so nice. I had to have it. And, now I'm driving it. So, and it's another money pit. So,
Well, that's what the whole ticket is, man.
It is.
I like that. Now, that's a 70 Torino.
My Torino, it's a 71 Torino GT. And the Falcarino is a 70.5 Fairlane Torino based car, but as I understand, Ford discontinued the Falcon chassis, the little Falcon, and they still had orders out for 4-door Falcons, but they discontinued it. It was replaced by the Maverick, but at that time Maverick, they weren't offering 4-doors. So what they did to fill their orders is they took all the Falcon emblems and just stamped them right on the old Fairlane. And called it here. It's like the movie Vacation. When the Griswolds went to get their car.
Oh yeah.
You think you hate it now? Wait till you drive it. Well, I ordered a Falcon. Well, here's your Falcon. No, that's your Fairlane. No, it's your Falcon. So they went. Ford did one of those to the Griswold everybody.
I don't know, man. Back in the day when I grew up, I was a Mopar guy all the way, and I hated Mavericks, man, or Pintos or because every time we got in a dang rush, you get behind one, you know what I'm saying? But that's 70. I guess it's a 70 Torino. And is that the one you're on, or they build that 2 years? I love the looks of that 70 Torino. It's got the point.
Yeah, 7071 is that body style.
Okay.
And that got rid of the square boxy one, 68 and 69.
Right.
And then everybody knows the 72 to whatever it was, Starsky and Hutch. Or Clint Eastwood, Gran Torino,
Yeah. But they were good looking cars. They were good looking cars.
They were. And I always wanted one until I actually when I finally got a Torino. I would say it's my second one, was a 71. And I just fell in love with that body style in the car. So, I mean, it was pretty cool, but like I said, it's to each their own. Like I like them all, but you got to narrow it down because we can't have them all. We're not all Jay Leno,
Right.
I'm the Jay Leno of junk cars, brother. I got them everywhere.
Don't tell my wife, but I'm learning.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, the Jay Leno junk cars. I got as many cars as he does, but mine's just junk. So
No,
yeah, he ain't got nothing on me. And I love Jay Leno. I don't know him personally, but he is a redneck. I don't care where he's from. He is a redneck, no doubt.
Yeah, man. Guy.
Yeah, he's a high-tech redneck.
And now I got John volunteering to help me when we go out to that yard and find more jewels. John's my official pilot. He's my test pilot now.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know if it's got brakes. Get in there.
I know the feeling.
Don't worry, it's got brakes.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, y'all done that video, and y'all go check it out at Flat Broke Garage. No doubt, he's got this video that he went and got this car, and they worked hard on it and didn't get the. They were too chicken. Me and Sean would have drove it, brakes or not brakes. We'd have went with it, man. We're from the South. We'd have drug our feet. But anyway, they give up, and I ain't gonna tell you the story, but y'all need to go check it out because they're driving down the road at 75 miles an hour with their crash helmets on, and yeah, that's pretty good. That was really good.
Yeah, I get a lot of comments about that goofy clip there. It was John, that was good, John. That one came out really good, you know.
And then the part that I left out is I got abandoned on the side of the road.
He did. Yeah.
So I followed them out to the yard with my Jeep, and I took one of the camera guys with me in my Jeep, and then they were supposed to follow us back to basically a drop point so I could get out of the Torino or get out of the Falcon and then drive my Jeep. And we pulled over, and the Bill and the other guy headed to his house to drop off the Falcon. And he says, they should be here any minute. And I'm standing there. I'm just milling around on Airport Road over in Ducktown. And every time I heard the of a big lifted truck, I was like, oh, cool, here comes the Jeep. Nope, Toyota or Chevy or Dodge. It was never my Jeep. And I'm like, what is going on? So it's hot as blazes out there. And I'm wandering around trying to stay in a little bit of shade that we had. No reception on my phone. I was like, I don't know what just happened here. So then about a half hour later, all of a sudden, here comes my Jeep from the opposite direction. And Charlie goes, I'm sorry, man, I'm bad with directions. He said, I ended up down in Mineral Bluff and had to come back around.
He went through Georgia, North Carolina, and came back to Tennessee, I think.
Yeah, maybe you had a scenic ride, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was all on John's fuel, so it didn't matter.
Hey, you can't make a redneck more happy, man. Somebody else's car, tires, and gas, man. That is it. That is it.
Yeah. It was interesting. And the whole brake thing, and I thought about it, John. We fixed the brakes, we bled the brakes, and we had a pedal. But as I took the car apart when I got back, the interesting thing is we could bleed it. You could open the bleeder and it would bleed. But all it was is just bypassing the wheel cylinders. They were so welded shut, just full of gack, that all it'd do was go through the brake line out the bleeder. But I thought we had brakes because look, it's bleeding, it's working. There's a pedal. Right up until we test drove it. So
yeah, I put that in gear and it just. There was it wasn't even a slowdown, and it. Of course, then everything's so close together, so we had tons of room to stop it before we crashed into something. And
if you look at your face in the car in the video, you can see the panic in your head. You're looking around, just trying to figure out.
I feel so bad, and I still feel bad about it.
So, but I learned a trade now. Now I know how to fix grills.
That's true.
There you go.
That came out pretty good. I mean, I never fiberglassed before, and you just kind of, you watch YouTube and you just kind of make it up, and old, Cool Whip containers. And so everything works, and it worked. And it'll never happen again. It was like a brief moment, but I mean, it was awesome.
When I was a kid, if they had this thing called YouTube where you could Google anything you needed to know, and there'd be somebody like me that's a redneck showing me how to do it, I would be a multi-millionaire rocket. I would have my own rocket on the moon right now.
You know it.
They tell you anything,
Yeah. For 1 million views, them Russian scientists will tell you anything,
And I'm dumb enough to try it. I believe I sound like that gonna work. Let's try it, boys. Here, hold my beer. Ain't that what they say?
That's right. I got me in the acetylene tank. We're going to the moon.
Just strap it on tight.
Acetylene tank and a ratchet strap. We're off to the moon.
Hey,
when them extended lighters,
That's an awesome video, man. I'll be down. What size chair do you fit in anyway?
Like the guy with the balloons, right? Did you see that? Or wait, that was
Yeah.
my name is Earl. When he strapped all the balloons to it and floated away.
Well, there was one not long ago was having the balloons up, and he was like picking apples or something, and it took off with him. He went like 2,500 miles before it finally set back down.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. They were weather balloons, weren't they?
I don't know what he had. He definitely wasn't. Anyway, when he sobered up, he was at 25,000 feet above us.
A cold nose.
Like, I think I need a beer. Yeah.
Look, I'm grilling while we're talking. I'm that redneck. See, I'm learning, guys.
What are you grilling?
We're doing salmon kebabs,
Salmon,
shrimp, steak, and some weird crab meatball things.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, y'all sit and talk about flat broke, and I heard John up there say you had a cameraman with him, and now you're cooking. I mean, when Sean, we cook out, we got hot dogs.
Well, but I'm not gonna tell him he's rich. So
In the defense, when we're talking cameraman, we're talking just his buddy Charles and his other buddy Charlie.
Yeah, I can't keep up with y'all. Y'all the big dogs.
oh no.
Bill does have a GoPro.
I do. And I got it at a police auction. Kind of like how Steve Earle's dad got that Mopar,
That'll work.
Yeah. Hey, John, notice I'm sporting the colors too.
And I like that one.
Yeah. Sporting your colors. Yeah, no, I got my police auction GoPro, some meth heads for stealing stuff out of the mail. And Etowah auctioned off all the stolen merchandise, and I got me a complete GoPro set up, and I had no idea how to use it. But it was great. I'm learning,
I got to use my boys. They're pilots, and they got each of them got a GoPro. We went last Sunday. Y'all need to try that if y'all never done that. That we've always wanted to do with the autocross.
Oh yeah, I've done that. Yep.
And we went up there and done autocross, and they had the GoPros and put on the car. I put a couple of videos up. I went out in the Corvette, and the first lap, you go as fast as you can because you don't look like an idiot. But I spun out and missed the track a couple of times. But I'm telling you what, man, I had so much fun and when I started out, I drift around the curves like you do dirt cars, to get around it. And they come and they said, look, man, you got to slow down on the drifting a little bit. So that kind of slowed me down because you got to drive through the curves. And I just kind of, I just throwing it out there. I'm dirt, I'm dirt track. I like that.
You get on that road, you got to push through your apex. Push through the apex.
Man, I rock it, man.
That
the next time I went out, I was holding on. I drive with I don't know if y'all drive with 2 feet, but I drive with 2 feet because I guess I drive junk cars and I'm used to pulling up the red light and having to hold the brake and keep it running. You know what I'm saying? But over the years, I've just developed that driving. And then when I drive, I hold on to the side of the car here on the window pillar and drive with my right arm. And so when I did that, that was the best lap I had. It was like 37 seconds. And I come back in. He said, hey, you have to keep your hands on the inside of the car. And I was like, well, what the heck am I going to hold on to, man? So
I'm going to die. You don't understand.
So he said, put both hands on the wheel. I said, are you kidding? I mean, that's for sissies, man. Nobody drives 10-2.
There was a driver. Wild Willie Boris drove the Winged Express. It was a AA fuel altered back in the 60s and early 70s.
Right.
And everybody thought he was crazy because he would drive with one hand. He'd hang onto the body and steer with his right. And in an interview one time, they said to him, they said, why do you drive one-handed? And he says, I do. And he didn't realize he did. And he says, I'm just hanging on, man. I'm just trying to survive until the end of the race. He says, I'm just grabbing onto whatever I can. He never even realized that he was hanging on the body with one hand and steering with the other.
Yeah.
And then it's done.
The NASCAR boys, they got them $50,000 seats. It's all wrapped in there, and they're buckled in. And
they're like a burrito.
Yeah. And so that the next time I went through, man, I'm like all over the car just trying to. So there ain't nothing to hold on to. It's a Corvette. I mean, you've been in one of them. There ain't no door handle. Ain't nothing to hold on to.
What was the race up in the one they do in Franklin?
It was a Highland Sports Car Club in Franklin. They had it in Franklin up there. I reckon it's a training center for cops or something.
It is, yeah. Liberty. We went up there one time, and Liberty was thinking about trying it with her vet, and we had a ball just watching the cars go through. The fun watch was a Cobra because he was hammering it pretty hard, getting a little twisted up in the close to the cones. And Liberty didn't say much about it. And then that night she was getting ready for bed, and I'm on the computer, and she said, "Hey, Dad." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Order me a helmet." I said, "All right."
There you go. There was a guy up there in a Cobra, bless his heart, and he'd not had it long, and it was beautiful, man. It was absolutely just a beautiful car, 289 car. And but it was built for driving. It wasn't built for racing. Man, he went in that thing. It looked like a station wagon going in the curves. I mean, it was just up on its side, And he was so frustrated. And but the problem with that race is, it's like after I went through that thing with that car, and I got everything bone stock, and I thought, if I had $1,000 set of tires, I could shave another half a second off my time. That's where the problem comes in with racing, because you're like,
oh man, good. First ahead up.
Yeah, but
what is for every 10th cost you 10,000? Isn't that it?
Yeah, something like that. But Dylan says you don't think about that when you're out there racing. He said you only think about that before you're out there racing.
Yeah. Or at the end of the day, when the bills come in,
you're thinking, well, if I had another $10,000, I could get another second off.
If I had another $10,000, I'd just get another car.
That's what I need to do.
I got to make a fool of myself. First time I tried it, I cut my teeth and learned at Road America.
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's the first place. My friend runs formula cars.
Right.
And in between stuff, they let you take out and they do like a test and tune. Now, I don't fit in a formula car, but they did have a Mustang there. And his friend was gracious enough to turn me loose in a 289. I forgot what class they are, vintage.
Oh, wow.
And I drove like an old lady, 10 and 2. And, I think I was just more horrified of the car, but it's also the experience on driving on like a real track.
Right.
Sure.
And it was just, I was more like sightseeing, like, whoa, look over there, it was just, oh, I'm on the carousel. It was just more the experience. And I'm just getting lapped.
Yeah.
And these guys are just testing tune stuff, but it was an experience. Now I'd love to try it, but I think I'd want to learn. I've done the petty thing where they put you in the fiberglass, and those are okay. Sure. But the Road Americas, that's different. That's weird, because that's left and right.
Now about learning, my daddy, and I did my boys the same way. I can tell you 1,000 times how to do it, but until you do it for yourself, you'll never know. So I mean, you can give them the rundown on, but until they get out there and go, and that's the thing. That's why my boys can do about anything, because that's the way I raised them up. Get out there and get at it and figure it out for yourself, because everybody does everything different,
That's right. You limp away from it,
Yeah.
I got a couple people kind of get mad at me. They said I was an irresponsible father for letting my daughter buy her Corvette for her first car, but she bought it when she was 13, did all the work herself to fix it up. We rebuilt the motor and stuff on it, and she loves that car and takes care of it. And I can't get her to burn rubber. One time I did, and she loved it, and but she doesn't want to hurt the car and she doesn't want to beat on it. So she's interested in drag racing and autocrossing it. And I figured the more that those kids learn to do that stuff, the better they are going to be behind the wheel on the street. When something else comes up, they're going to know how the car handles, they're going to know how it brakes and turns, and they're going to be able to get themselves out of a situation rather than just crashing into stuff.
Yep, slamming the brakes on and screaming. I'm with you, man. That's what everybody does. That's the problem.
Well, a good learning thing now too is like the lemons, the 24-hour lemons, where you go get yourself a Crown Vic and just go out and try it.
Hey, speaking of that, there's this weekend in Chattanooga.
Yes, that's the lemons.
Yeah, they have the Concours de Le Mans, and another one too, and I can't remember. Oh, it's the Radwood, so it's all 80s and 90s cars.
Oh, wow.
Tell me a little bit more about this. I want to know more about the lemons thing.
Okay, the lemons thing is like the 24 hours of Le Mans, okay? But they're just junk cars. And it's what, you and another driver, right, John? It's two drivers.
I don't know if it's 2 or 4. They got a small team, and they got to race the car, and the budget's set. I can't remember what the budget is, but it used to be, I think that the budget was the year you're in. So in 2022, you could spend $2,222, but I think they lifted that.
Yeah. And you're allowed to bribe the judges, and it's just for fun,
So where do they race to? They got to go.
Road Atlanta. I think they had one at Road Atlanta last year, didn't they?
I believe so, yeah.
They have them at major tracks. I mean, they're on real tracks.
It's funny, man. I was watching one on one of the car channels had a video of it. It was kind of documented one of the race teams. They had an 87 El Camino that they were racing, and they're out there and they're racing next to Toyota Corollas with chicken strapped to the roof and gremlins and it's there's rules, but they're very, very loose. And it's kind of an anything goes kind of thing. As long as it's got 4 wheels and it was cheap to get, then you're allowed to do it.
Yeah, you got to relocate the battery, the gas tank, the glass has to be gone except for a windscreen. Couple other things,
I think anybody can buy your car for a set price.
Yeah,
I don't think Gremlin falls in that low price category anymore.
No, oh no.
Probably not.
Them things are $10,000 for rusted out ones now.
Yeah.
I was looking for a Hornet. I used to own a Hornet in my teen years.
Oh yeah.
You can't find a Hornet nowhere.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And
They're
nobody
cra-
wanted them. They were
No.
horrible cars. You know?
And
Yeah.
AMC got overlooked. I had a 70 Javelin. That thing was just brutal. It was just a car, man.
Was it a 401 car?
No, it was a 360, but it was bracket champ 2 years in a row, Lebanon Valley Dragway. And, you know, it was just a little street car, a little 360 with a few bolt-ons, and ran 1309 at 100 flat. And the thing would scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun car there.
Yeah,
That
man.
AMX was a 2-seater, man. That was a bad dude with that 68 and 69.
Sure.
When
I
I
think that 350 to 400 horsepower realm right there is really about the perfect street car horsepower. You know, when you get something that just overpowers you, and you know you have to really be a driver to control it. But a non-driver can control 300 to 400 horsepower with a little practice, and it comes to them pretty quick. You won't outdrive your brakes. You won't outdrive your tires.
Yeah.
Most.
You know, it's funny. I always kind of said the same thing. It's kind of that 10 pounds per horsepower. Once you get in that 10 horsepower, that's a pretty fun little car.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. These new cars, though, I mean, they got stupid horsepower, but they're what, 4,500 pounds now? I mean, like the
big heavy cars. I talked to one guy who had a 2010 Camaro convertible, and he weighed it. He put like Lambo doors on it and big ground effects and all this other stuff. So he added a lot of weight to it. But he was almost at 5,000 pounds when he was done.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, Pig, my 67 Impala weighed less than that.
Yeah.
But what's horrifying though is technology now. I'm sitting here, like I said, in my son and daughter-in-law's house, and she's got a Mustang GT at 2015 or 16. And she doesn't really drive it. It just sits. So the car sat for, I don't know, 6-8 months, so they couldn't get it started. And I guess when you let a battery go dead slowly, it like kills the computer. It just drains the computer. I don't know what happened, but we got it back up and learning. But I took that car for a drive, and I tell you, from going from a 64 Comet to a GT Mustang is horrifying.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you're going a $120 before you even know it, and you don't even feel it. There's no wind noise.
Mm-hmm.
It's just technology's scary, man. It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. The old cars, they're brutal. It's all on the bottom end, and it's a gut punch. You know, it's just that's what I love about them. But it's like, you know, you get an old car and you're going, oh my God, I'm doing 80, and then you get a car, you go, oh God, I'm doing 80.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, Stephen, tell us about how good them bi-sply tires do that your dad.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, I love my dad to death, but now back in the day, he rip roared around Hiawassee where we live at. I mean, he did, and it come from more than him. Everywhere he went wide open. But I don't know if you ever been down Crooked Creek or not, but he always talked about running down Crooked Creek over 100 mile an hour in a 57 Plymouth Fury, and I eat this up. And anyway, I bought a 55 or 56 Cadillac and had the bi-sply tires on it, and I went down Crooked Creek in that thing, and I'd do 45, maybe 50, and we'd go around them curves, and them old bi-sply tires, oh, you know. I drove back up. I went straight to the house, and I said, Daddy, you tell me, Phil, there ain't no way you run that fast on bi-sply tires. You did not do that. I am not kidding you. He used to go through Cleveland down there coming back from Atlanta. He worked down at Atlantic Lockheed in that old car, and he come through there, and that police down there be waiting on him. I guess it's just a cat and mouse thing. And he'd go around the square wide open, and then they'd chase him all the way trying to catch him. Of course, that thing had 2 4-barrels, man. That 57 Plymouth Fury back in the day, man. I mean, it's a big car, but you know,
them technically was the muscle cars. Everybody tries to say that it was a Pontiac, and you know, whenever they come out with that 66 GTO or somewheres, but I think that Chrysler, when they had that cross ram intake and stuff back in the 50s, that's the beginning of the muscle cars.
Well, that 56, he got a 56 Plymouth Fury too, and I bought a Savoy to go with. We're going to try to put them together and build and fix the 56. But in 1956, that thing broke the flying mile down at Daytona Beach, Florida. I mean, at 100 and something mile an hour, the flying mile back in 50 something, and everybody talks about all the technology. That's where I quit watching NASCAR. I got done with NASCAR. I guess I'm Smoky Unix, but
cookie cutter racing.
Honestly, but here's the thing, you had the Superbird, which you can go back and check, but the Superbird was turning way over 200 mile an hour back in 1970.
And it was steel.
And it was a car, not much more than what you could buy off the showroom floor.
Right.
And now they got all these safety barriers, they got all this safety stuff, and they're not even, what are they turning? I mean, they're averaging. I mean, it's just
got the restricted plates and everything else.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd go. If they'd start, I keep thinking if Tony Stewart, he's pretty hard on the racing. If he'd ever start a stock car racing, of course, they ain't nothing that. Well, now they got, they got the Challengers and the Chargers and the Camaros. They got some stuff out there to do it that they could buy, gut and race, but it's bone stock, back in the day. But,
well, if they could make slot cars out of them electric cars, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could. They have the same whistling sound when they go by,
Well, they got the new Charger. It sounded like a vacuum cleaner. The sound for the electric car, it sounded like a Hoover vacuum cleaner when you turn it on.
NASCAR over to electric. Can you imagine how long it's going to take to do the Daytona race? It's going to be like, you can hear, and then all of a sudden it's going to stop, and then everybody's going to have to wait for 8 hours for the batteries to charge back up, and then they're going to race 45 minutes to an hour.
Who was it?
Daytona Speed Week is going to take a week.
Yeah. Was it you, John, that told me that they were watching a YouTube video with the Mach-E? They were installing a sound system to make it sound like a V8.
Yeah,
it was actually hooked to the accelerator.
That wasn't me, but I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. First, actually, the dumbest thing was that Ford called the Mustang Mach-E the Mach-E. They should have, or the Mustang. They should have called it the. Brought that name back. That's the Mustang.
Something. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know, boys. The electric cars are fast. There's no doubt they're faster, but I just don't think the technology's there to keep them going. Man, I don't want one. I can't afford one. You can't even. Like I said, we talked about this before in California, where they're demanding that you buy electric cars. You can't even run your air conditioning in the middle of the day because they're running out of power. So
gasoline powered cars by the year or something, and then like 2 days later, they told everybody to don't charge their cars and don't run their air conditioning because
right. Well, I got no problem with electric cars, but then all of a sudden, don't wave a magic wand and outlaw everything with
That's
gas.
right.
You can't just do that. What about the poor kid that works at McDonald's that can't afford an electric car but still trying to go to work?
Right.
We're driving $2,500 bombs because that's what you can afford.
Right.
So
right.
$100 car isn't going to be able to go, all right, just drop what they're doing and go buy a $50,000 electric car just because it's the cool, that's the thing that the government wants you to do.
Right.
So where you going to get a $50,000 electric car at?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, you can buy them used for $20,000, then you got to buy a $20,000 battery to fix them.
That's it. I seen the other day where Tesla actually locked this guy out of his car because he needed to replace his battery, and they wouldn't let him in his own car because he wouldn't replace his battery.
That's horrifying.
You see that video where the guy blew up the Tesla?
No.
So he went in, he had trouble with the Tesla the whole time he owned it, so he brought it back, and they told him he needed a new battery for like $20,000, so he blew it up instead. It was something. He said he got so much more satisfaction blowing it up than he did. He said even though it cost him more to blow it up than it did to buy a new battery, it was more fun to blow the thing to.
He definitely got more money and he's got sense because there ain't no way I could do that. I mean, I'm trying to blow up some of this junk I've been driving. There ain't no way. Yeah.
Sounds like that whistling diesel guy.
Oh, he tore up some stuff, ain't he?
Oh my gosh, that's all that guy does is blow stuff up.
Yeah.
I don't ever watch them channels that do stupid stuff like that. When they've got more money, I'm sitting here struggling, just trying to keep what stuff I've got going, and then some idiot doing something like that for so-called entertainment. I just don't watch them.
Yeah,
it's not entertaining to me.
He ruined that F-150 or that F-250. Just smashed it in all the posts and stuff. He goes, well, it was junk anyways, But somebody probably wanted that truck, And he doesn't care. But I don't. I agree. Everybody's quick to. I just, like I said, there's just something about that. It gets me deep down inside. It just tears me up to see that stuff get tore up. Just like you say, for the sheer fact that entertainment, and then they just throw it away. Well, it's okay. I get the money back on YouTube. Yeah, but the truck's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, here's my thing. I can deal with some of that new stuff tore up than I can. I watch these guys that, well, I used to. I can't watch them anymore. That actually got these car crushing videos where they're at a scrap metal place where that's all they do is crush cars all day long.
Yep.
I see them put on some old Plymouths and stuff like that, and I think, golly, man, just set that right there and put it on. What do you think it brings scrap? $150 for the whole thing? Especially right now, $4 $100. I mean, somebody would buy that car. It's just heartbreaking because that kind of stuff you can't get back. Some of them.
No.
Parts.
Right. Yeah.
Once it's gone, it's gone. You tell me
Yep.
about shrimp and fish and stuff.
That sure is smelling good, man. Whatever you're cooking. Yeah.
It's getting there, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, look at it too.
It's getting there. I'm gonna have to leave you guys here, man.
No, don't go. Please don't go.
It's done. I gotta get me some seafood and some delicious fish here, and I'm glad I can hook up though. Now I know how to do this. I'm not very tech savvy here at Flatbroke Garage. We still use mice and duct tape notes to them. So this high techy stuff is kind of hard, but
hey,
I'm getting it.
You got to take one bite and let us know what it tastes like. Is it good?
All right. Well, we're grabbing it off here. Hang on.
I wonder what it tastes like.
We're getting. Oh, you saw my finger. It's only like 1,000 degrees.
That's all right.
Yeah, I think so.
That's good. Yeah,
it's good. Oh! Don't drop the steak. Those are my favorite.
Oh yeah, man. I ain't had a steak in forever, man.
Well, like I said, that's when your son buys. That's the way to go. Hang on, let me grab some. That's why I come down here.
You gotta eat good.
Oh, it's hot. Oh. Dang.
Good.
You see my breath, dude.
Yeah,
I'm in South Georgia. I got to grill those.
How are we going to do it?
Take a stick. Well, guys, I got to go because I got some nice hot steak there. Thanks for letting me join the group, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
take it.
See you later, Bill.
Take it easy.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Our show got trumped out by hot steaks. What about that?
Yeah, man. I'm starving to death now. What about you?
Yeah, all I had was like a piece of bread with some jam on it before I got on. So,
Phew.
steak and
Biscuit and gravy. Jerry made biscuit and gravy before we went on there, so
yeah.
I ate good tonight.
Well, now, what is the deal with this? So I seen some pictures on Facebook where you got an anniversary or something. You was cooking for
today's our 36th anniversary.
Hey, congratulations, man. That's
Thanks.
cool.
Anyway, she was talking about earlier in the week. She said, last week she was saying, I don't know if I want to go to the Dillard house because we ain't been there in a couple of years, or if I want you to make me something. I said, well, whatever you want, just let me know. And anyway, Saturday she said, I think I want a lobster and steak. And I said, well, I can make it. It ain't no problem. So, you can actually get lobster cheaper than you can get crab legs now.
Really?
Yeah, they've got Ingalls has got a little frozen a whole lobster, and they're like $17 or $18 for that whole lobster.
Okay.
And, and it's actually cheaper than steak too. Really, if you get a good. I think I got 2 bone-in ribeyes, and then them. I can't remember how much they was, but I cooked. But anyway, she said, "Well, what do you think about dessert?" And I said, "Well, I know we're getting into the season, but I said, we ain't had none of your pumpkin pie. Why don't you make a pumpkin pie?" So I had pumpkin pie for dessert.
Well, what'd you say you had, John?
I had bread with some jam on it.
Yeah, I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich too.
That was it. I was working in the garage and then came in, grabbed a quick thing and a glass of orange juice, and that was it.
Yeah, Bill, some people eat high on the horse, and other people like me and you, we're just poor.
Yeah. Well, see, I keep stuff. See, I've got tamales froze where I've done them pork. Then let's see, I've got some brisket froze, and then my Brunswick stew. So if I get hungry, I keep that stuff. I got a vacuum pack. I vacuum pack it, and it'll stay froze after I cook it. And it tastes pretty good after even being froze for months. You get it in that vacuum pack and heat it up, and it's just like you got it fresh off the grill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember I was at a show was at Hal Coward's up in upstate New York, and the guy had a little Model T, and under had this little box, and it said something hot dog on it, and you would put your hot dogs in it and take the car for a ride, and then when you got to where you were going, your hot dogs would be cooked off the exhaust manifold.
Yeah, cooked off the manifold.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we used to ride all the time on side by sides, but you could heat whatever you're going to eat, you could heat up if you kept it close to the motor in time you got ready to eat, because we'd be way back up in the woods. You just pull it off and eat.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I love it, man.
I guess that kind of makes it an alternative energy vehicle, doesn't it? Because you're doing two different things. So
that's like
where you're going, using it to cook your food. So therefore, shouldn't the government reimburse you for some kind of mileage saving thing there?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of 10 miles to the gallon, you're getting 10 miles to the gallon and how many BTUs to cook your food. So you're getting a twofer.
So they got anything like that on them electric cars?
Probably not. I don't think so. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they did. They probably have something like I was just reading a thing on the new Ford Lightning pickup trucks. They have a emergency feedback thing where if you lose power, if the truck's fully charged, when your house loses power, it'll keep your house running for like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah. I thought that's kind of cool.
We was over at that autocross, and there's a guy had I think it was a BMW. I ain't gonna swear to it. It was something, and we were talking to him about it, and he said, "Yeah," he said, "this thing's got a thing designed in the transmission that when you get up to a hill, it'll stay there." And he called it something.
Oh, the hill hold. Yeah.
And I said, "Well, Lord of mercy." I said, "Studebaker had that back in the 50s." He said, No, this is brand new. I said, "No, man, I know Studebaker. I've heard Daddy talk about it. But anyway."
Yeah, they were straight shifts, wasn't they?
They had there's a lot of stuff that they just kind of regurgitate. The stuff that was back then, there were odd options, and they for some reason they didn't catch on back then, but they came on later on. GM had that XUV with the sliding roof, but Studebaker did that with the Wagoneer back in the 60s, where you could slide that roof.
It's just like the electric car. Wasn't the very first cars electric powered?
It was actually for a long time the milk trucks. Most root trucks were electric. They would and they were set up where you just let off the gas, let off the gas pedal and it would stop. So they would just drive along, hop out of it, wouldn't even have to set a parking brake or anything. You just hop out of it, go set the milk down, jump back in, and
well, here now I got to thinking about this. Now, wouldn't you think a steam car would be better than an electric car? Because you just fill it up with water, and I'm sure you get someplace and buy you a couple sticks of wood and chunk in that thing and buzz right on down the road, man.
Probably work all right.
And it's like biodegradable because trees are biodegradable, right?
Yeah.
I'm on to something, boys. I'm gonna copyright that before somebody gets it, man. I just go to thinking all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Jay Leno got them Stanley steamers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, actually, the first time I ever saw anything 3D printed, it was at one of Jay Leno's Garage episodes where it was a slide valve for a Stanley steamer, and his was cracked in half. So he put the two pieces together, and they 3D printed it in plastic, and then brought it to a place to use that as a mold to pour a new one out of I don't know if he used aluminum or cast iron, but whatever he had to make it out of. But I said, man, that's the coolest thing. That was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, but we ain't Jay Leno. Jay Leno's got deep pockets. I like his watching his stuff though.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know though. You think about like what we're doing on our channels, and I'm just doing it for the fun of it. I mean, I don't think I will ever make any money doing it, and don't really care because I'm just, like I said, we're just doing this for fun. But you got these channels, of course, like Vice Grip Garage. He is fixing to be on. He just got a deal with what is it called, Sean?
Motor Trend.
Motor Trend.
Yeah.
I think that's a mistake.
They've already got one season recorded that they're fixing to release.
Yeah.
I think he's backing up on that. And the reason I say that is, and I do a radio show, in the mornings on Lake 97. I keep saying that, and that's why I know these people. But I've had like Bogey from All Girls Garage. I've had her on. I don't know if y'all familiar with Bogey from All Girls. Yeah. And then that Shag Arrington or whatever it is off of the Rust something out in Texas and all that. They really don't make any money. I mean, as far as being on the TV, they don't make any. They make their money by selling their merch and that kind of stuff,
Sure.
And I think he's got, with Vice Grip and these big shows that got their own YouTube channel thing going. And I think he's backing up. I think he's going to regret doing that. I don't think because the reason I say that is like I knew a guy that he was a Christian artist and he was out there playing and he got up to where he was making over $100,000 a year playing music on his own. Well, then he got signed and they signed him this big record deal and everybody's all excited. Well, after that first year, he was in debt $100,000, you know, because yeah. And I just hope that don't happen because, I mean, that old guy, he seemed like a good guy there on Vice Grip. You know, he seemed like a good guy. He really does. But,
now, he says, because I've watched him now, he says he's got complete control of that show.
Right.
He said that he would not do the show if he didn't have complete control. But I guarantee you he don't have complete control of the finances.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. They're smart, man. And like I said, that like Bogey from All Girls Garage, she's really a really nice girl. But she's like I said, she don't make that much money off of the show, but she does, you know, like appearances and selling stuff and like that. But you know, I don't see it look like with as much. I don't know how many. He's got like 2.5 million subscribers on his channel.
Oh yeah, he should be making pretty good on YouTube. And
right.
See, Motor Trend, I feel like they're hurting because you know, they're pushing some stuff that people don't really like. There's a couple shows that I like. I really like that it's a British show and they brought it to America and took it back to Britain. But that Wheeler Dealers, that's really one of my favorite shows because they don't really fake stuff up.
Right.
You know, they get a car that needs work, they work on it. And, you know, there's been a time or two they've barely broke even, you know, now their man hours, I don't think they're really counting that money up. But, you know, of course, in the car world, if a man builds a car himself, everybody always says, oh, you can't count your time. And, you know, and but I finally come to the road where, you know, I've built enough now and say, listen, you know what, if you don't want to pay me for my car that I've built, I'm just not going to build them no more. I can go down to McDonald's and they'll gladly pay me to sweep the floor.
Right.
You know, if somebody else is saying my time ain't worth nothing, it's worth something at McDonald's sweeping.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I don't know. I enjoy it. I've always been a car guy, you know, and I know John here with Eastern Hot Rodder, he's a drag. I like circle track. I like dirt track. I went down to Tri-County last Thursday night. They had that big race down there. 57 lappers for $5,700, man. Anyway, that was a good. Was you down there?
No, man. I had a couple of my students went down there though.
Yeah, that was a good race, man. I ain't kidding you. That one old boy that the teacher down there from Murphy, he's a what is his name? Payne.
Oh yeah.
That first and second, man, it was close. And I like it when they're neck and neck, but he almost had that guy pass. But that was a good race. But I'm thinking about building me a dang dirt track car now. But I want this is my theory. If I can get everybody to join in on this, and I was going to do it one time before, but I was playing music all the time, so I quit that, and I got time to do what I want to do. But I think Crown Vic, man, knock the windows out, put a roll cage in it, and then put Hoosier tires where you can stick to the track. You know, I'd like to have, instead of street tread, just have some Hoosier tire and like a big tired street class. And that'd be so cheap, man. Just knock the windows out, throw a roll cage in, get your fire suit, throw some, and that's it. That's all you can do. You can't do anything other than that.
I've got a 71 Duster that I could put in there. I could make into a dirt tracker.
Boy, I would cry if I seen a 71 Duster. That's what we used to race. I'm not kidding. We still got that Randy Cook's old car that Daddy had. That I think it's a 67, 68 Dodge Dart. What we run back then, man. A little red and white Dodge.
Did it win much?
Oh, are you kidding? And that's the thing about it. Everybody around here was Chevrolet, man. They had no idea about Mopar. So, you know, we swapped everything out. You know how you swap the banks and take all the lag out of the motor? And But we started racing. He won the number on the car was 17, and he won 17 races in a row down there. And we won 18, but we had some kind of a problem with the car and had to come back in. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it was a bad little ride back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. I guess the reason I never got into the circle track stuff is I like driving my stuff on the street.
Right.
It's where I lived up in New York, I could hear Lebanon Valley Dragway and Lebanon Valley Speedway from my house. So it was cool. But, you know, anytime I got an itchy foot on the street, I would just go up to the track and race, you know, drag race and make a few passes and get it out of my system so I wouldn't get in trouble. But if something, as long as something doesn't go wrong when you're drag racing, you come home and your car's as nice as it was when you left.
Right.
And dirt track racing, unless something goes wrong while you're dirt track racing, your car's going to come home way worse than it was when you left. You know, if your car comes home looking just like it did when you left to go to the race, that means you didn't even qualify. You didn't even get out on the
Yeah.
Back in the day, I didn't race much because I was a terrible fighter. I'm a terrible fighter. But nowadays, all that fighting stuff's calmed back down a little bit. People don't do it like you. Because used to, you'd go to fight and a race would break out, you know?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially.
Well, I think what you're talking about on the drag racing, when you go back years ago here, the dirt track racing, all the roads was dirt. So them boys would get to run their cars up and down the road.
They knew how to run. Yeah.
And that's why dirt track racing is so big here, because, you know, the old dirt roads across the mountains and stuff, that you wasn't going to meet nobody. You wasn't going to, you know, very seldom did you know, you could get out there and raise all kind of sand. And it's, you know, now getting one broadsided to me is, I love drag racing, but I like sliding them too. So, but now I've never been on the drag. Of course, you know, now I don't think I could do any good. I'm not a wheel man anymore.
Shoot, I love it, man. I'm ready to go. That's why I say Crown Vic, you can buy them cheap, man. If you beat them up, who cares?
Sure.
Yeah. Who cares? Here's the thing, though, man. You run a track. You go up there and drag race. How long does it take you to run a quarter mile?
Depending on the car, right? You know, so it's anywhere. You know, most of the stuff I ran was always like anywhere from. Let's see, my slowest one I raced was 14.7, and then the other stuff is down all the way down in the 12s. You know, I got other friends of mine that they try to get down the track in a hurry, and 7 or 8 seconds later they're getting off the track. But I kind of take my time, I guess.
But I mean, for 14 seconds, man, in a dirt track, I'm making 12 laps, man. I'm getting some seat time, man. 14 seconds. I don't even get her cranked up good at 14 seconds. Of course, I ain't running over 100 mile an hour either.
Just something like just launching that car. If you got a good car that pulls hard, it's like my wheelies should run in the low 11s, high 10s. And when you launch that car and it, that feeling it gets you when it throws you back in that seat and that hard acceleration, it's just, I guess I like quick cars better than fast cars. I like quick is getting to be fast. How fast you can get to fast is quick.
Yeah.
What engine did your car have in it when you got it, where you pulled it and switched it?
I had a iron head 454 roller motor in it, but I had aluminum head. The motor was probably 450 horse engine, and the one that I put in it was a little over 600 horse. It's all the good stuff from my 55. So it's right now I got a tunnel ram with 2.4s, aluminum heads, pretty rowdy solid lifter cam in it. It's a good higher compression engine and stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to get the 440 in this satellite. It's still at the machine work was technically done 20 something year ago, but it got a rusty place on the crank, and them guys, of course, over at Wolf's Machine, they said they could polish that crank out. And there was a little bit of light surface rust, but on the block and a couple of cylinders, but it was real light. And I took WD-40 and about got it all out, but they went ahead and rehoned it and everything. And it's going to have Keith Black regular hyper-eutectic pistons, the ones that's got that quench and it's got like a little dome on it and everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm sort of concerned about is, see, like cam kits for any Mopar right now, they're pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
And so I had to just grab the only one that I could find out there. Jegs had 2 of the same kits. I think it's Lenotti's.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if I remember, it might not be that. I can't remember. But anyway, it's just a hydraulic flat tappet springs that come, it was a complete kit. Everything matched up. And so I don't know if the cam will really match the tunnel ram or not. I think it's 1,800 RPM to like 6,200 is what the RPM range in it is. And but it's the only thing it's offered.
Your tunnel ram probably comes in around 2,000 or 2,500, right?
Probably does.
Street ram, yeah.
So,
I know mine I think comes in it's 25 to 7. The one that's in the wheelies, my cam is I'm trying to remember, that one's a 3,000 7,000 RPM cam, so it matches the tunnel ram real well. The one I'm picking up for my little shop truck, my little red truck, I actually got my engines at the machine shop up here in Andrews, and I'm going to go hydraulic roller with it this time instead of the flat tap it. But I think I'm going to end up going with a Howard's cam. They're the one that I was finding that had a good compromise for streetability, but still have a little bit of that range for that tunnel ram to work good.
Yeah, I was going to go roller, but see, people would have roller cams, but see, like they'd have hydraulic roller cams and only have solid lifters for them. And then, of course, when you talk to the real cam, there's guys that are putting solid lift cams on hydraulic roller cams. But when you talk to the manufacturers, they're saying, they might be doing it, but that's not right. That ain't designed to do you like that and everything. And so I chickened out on doing it and just went ahead and got a hydraulic flat tap it because, of course, the Mopar stuff, there ain't no parts out there. I guess when COVID, people started building stuff and then, the manufacturing stopped manufacturing and all them parts just ain't out there.
Yeah, supply and demand out there. Yeah, it's tough for anything, man. Everything seems to be like, even when I was picking out the cam for that small block, I still got to order it yet, but everything was, back at the beginning of September, I was looking and it was estimated ship date was October 5th, October 10th. It was all still put out direct from manufacturers, so they're still not stocked up. And and that was what I liked about Howard's, they're all made in USA. So we're getting good parts. It's gonna hold up well. And and again, they had the one cam I was looking at had the power range was, I think it was like 2,400 to 6,200, and I don't think that my little red truck will ever see anything north of 6,000 RPM anyway. So so that'd be probably a pretty good cam for it.
Well, I mean, it took me 3 days to get a set of brake pads for an '87 Corvette, man. I mean, that's the way parts are right now. I thought, what?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people they're not realizing right now. Of course, I went to that Holly Mo party up in Bowling Green this past weekend,
right?
And of course, eBay Motors was one of the big sponsors there, and that Holly LS Fest was the weekend or before that one, and and eBay Motors was there, but now eBay Motors is in trouble right now. Because there's since the new tax law got signed in, people's quit using it because of the 1099s. They're not selling stuff on it no more, and so they're in real trouble right now. And they're spending it kindly reminds me of Sears. They're not going after the real problem. They're sponsoring these events and stuff, but it's like when Sears was in trouble, if they'd have just had one guy say, you know what, we need to go back to what we used to be and, start doing catalog or internet sales because, back in the day, Sears was like Amazon is now.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And, and they spent money on getting away from that, going to the malls, and that mall thing is dead now because
it's done.
Yeah, people are so mean. Nobody wants to take their family to a mall. You don't know what you're going to see when you get there.
Right.
No, I'm with you on that. Unless you want to go people watching, there ain't no people there.
But you're not going there to shop. I will just order it on Amazon. I don't feel like fighting the crowd, or whatever.
Had Montgomery Wards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I used to say when I was a little kid, I always thought it was Monkey Wards. I always loved getting that catalog. You go in and you look at it, and it was cool. Just checking out the cool toys and the gun section and everything. It was always cool to look at.
Oh yeah, the Sears Christmas Wish book. That was the highlight of the Christmas season.
Man, I'd circle and circle and circle.
The Sears sold everything. As a matter of fact, the Henry is marketed as an Allstate and sold through the Sears catalog as well. So it was the same car. The Allstate was the same thing as a Henry J. And my wife's grandparents bought their house through Sears.
Yeah,
it was a model put up in the early 50s. I think it was late 40s, early 50s, and they ordered it through Sears catalog, and they came out and plopped it down on a foundation for them.
Yep, Sears was a big deal. But everything changes, man. Everything changes. Ain't no doubt. I mean, I know right now Amazon's the way to go, but I don't know how long that's going to last,
It all goes back full circle. We've almost gone back to the gunslinging West again, the way everybody
I hope not, because I am a terrible shot, man.
They made that that
look
little.
at our communication and stuff now. It's like because the phones and everything we have correct everything for us. We have a generation of functioning illiterates.
Exactly.
They don't know how to write a complete sentence because the computer does it for them. And now with all the emojis and stuff, we're going right back to hieroglyphics and so the communication is kind of lost. And what you're getting now with that the screening between things is you're losing that the regular conversation. There's I've noticed a lot of younger people, and I see it with students. If you got to get them to write more than a sentence or two, they don't want to do it. They give up, and it's and that's a scary thing. They don't even want to learn how to read cursive. If they can't read that, how are they going to read the Declaration of Independence? They got to, but it's interesting because we have the ability to communicate with more people than we've ever had before, but the communication breakdown is getting worse and worse all the time. There's really no, and of course you can blame a lot on COVID. That also changed a lot of stuff where, people were masked up for 2 years. So these kids don't know how to even read facial expressions anymore. It's right. Just kind of a weird deal, really. But I don't know. I think we can solve a lot of the world's problems by just having a good old car show. You go to car show, politics goes away at a car show, and race issues. The only race at a car show is whose car is faster than the other one. Man, they don't care about what color your skin is. They care how fast the car is.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. But that autocorrect you're talking about does not work when you have a vocabulary like I have and you pronounce words the way I do. I'm telling you.
Oh man, I hate
spell check does not work.
I'm with autocorrect all the time now.
Jeez, that's it. Folks, we're gonna have to get on out of here. Look, man, we had our buddy didn't show up today, man. He sent me from that Copperhead Kustoms from down under. He didn't come today, but I reckon his dog got snake bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't know. Down there they got all that. I don't know if the dog's deadlier than the snake or what's going on, but his dog got snake bit, so he said he had to run that, so he wasn't gonna be able to make the show. I hope he makes it next week, but I don't know.
Is he going to be like your dad? If the kids come home, what happened? Would the dog just run off?
Yeah, the dog run off while he's at school.
He's that's no fun when your pet gets hurt, man. My dog got bit by a copperhead a couple of years ago on my daughter's Liberty's birthday of all days, and he pulled through it no problem, but it was still kind of a scary thing. I had to bring him to the ER and. I guess the scariest thing of that whole thing was the vet bill itself. But
I'll tell you, I think I had a dog back when I was a kid got bit, and back in the day around here you had doctors, but we had Mom Nelson over here on Sunnyside. It was a nurse, old nurse back years ago. When we took that little dog, everybody went to Mom Nelson when they got sick. They didn't go to the doctor; they went to Mom Nelson. That's what. And we took that little dog over there, and she fed that thing buttermilk and said, "You just keep giving that dog buttermilk, and he'll be all right." And sure enough, it was fine. We just fed him buttermilk the whole time. His little old face swelled up about this big, but he made it through it. But I don't know what the deal is with that, but it
held up pretty good to those, to a copperhead bite, all right. And that's with Muncie, he didn't get full envenomation, so it was, his paw swelled up pretty good. But the next morning, he got up and limped his way down to my parents' house to go say hi and made his way back all right. And he was kind of a sad sack for a couple of days, but I think 2 or 3 days later, it was like nothing happened to him. He was out running around perfectly fine again.
I think the dog can live with the copperhead bite, but now the rattlesnake is a rattlesnake. I don't think they'll make it.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah, it's the most powerful venom. Yeah.
Down there, man, they got all the deadly stuff,
Yeah. Really, they got the top 10 deadliest of just about everything. Animals and
I was just watching his video before we went on air that he did yesterday, I guess. But he had a possum's head out in his garage. There are possums up in the tire, so that possum might have been hiding from the snake up there in that thing or something.
Could be. Yeah.
I get thrown off though. Do what now? John, what was you gonna say?
I was gonna know. Do the possums down there look like our possums, or do they look a lot different?
No, I didn't see the whole thing, but it had a real bushy tail, so no, it don't look like a possum. Okay. So I don't know what that thing is, but our possums and then our armadillos, That's about two of the ugliest things I think we've got.
We didn't have
So
armadillos.
that's the weird thing about armadillos is I don't think there's any live armadillos anywhere around Cherokee County.
We got them
I see
here.
dead. All I see is dead ones.
Yeah, well, you're right. They cross the road about like a possum does, man. They
I
wait
think
till the car comes, then they run.
It's just, you know that the armadillo is the only other animal besides humans that can carry leprosy.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So if you see a 9-banded armadillo with only 7 bands and it's trying to hang on to them, don't go touching it.
I ain't gonna touch one anyway. No, I don't. They don't look nasty things. I don't know. I like watching his videos. Now, this last video, he get his truck crank yet, or what was it? He getting close?
The one that I just watched, he didn't. He did turn it over by the key, but he didn't. It wasn't wired up to start. That
Well,
Okay. That's a cool little truck.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I get thrown off, man, because the brake thing's on the right side. You're like, I need to read these brakes, and it's on the right side. I'm like, man, I just thought I want everything on the left, you know.
Yeah.
He's a super nice guy, though. Ain't no doubt.
Oh yeah,
And I hope his dog's all right, and I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I do too.
yeah, sure.
Fellas, I guess till next week we'll talk to you then. I've done about all we can do tonight, but like I said, I hope his little dog is all right. Y'all go check out Copperhead Kustoms. Go check out Seanfattireguy Thomas, and we got Eastern Hot Rodder, and then your buddy from Flat Broke Garage, man. He was on with us.
Yeah.
And long as the good Lord's will and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back here next Saturday or Sunday at 6 o'clock. We backed it down just a little bit because we was trying to get ready to come home and all that good stuff. But anyway, we appreciate y'all watching, and fellas, thank y'all for coming.
Thanks, guys.